Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and I have an exciting video for you today because we are about to repot this, my giant taro or elephant ears. And as you can tell, this plant has become a real monster. Keeps on growing, keeps on outgrowing its pot. I have a 70-litre pot today that we're going to transfer this plant to, so let's repot it. Now that we've manhandled this beautiful Alocasia out of the greenhouse, you can see exactly how tall it is, and it is as tall as I am. A fantastic ornamental plant that anybody would be glad to have as a house plant or a greenhouse plant. Now, this was grown from berries which I collected in Palermo in the south of Italy 6 years ago, and so basically grown from seed, and it has done so well, especially this year when extra water and the fact that I've grown it sitting in water has meant that it has gotten really quite enormous, and I'm a bit scared at this stage as to how big it will eventually become. In any case, I'm not going to check it in its development, and today we are going to pot it into a bigger pot. As you can see, this plant is needing potting on because the roots are coming out of all of the holes all the way around, and that is a surefire indication that it needs a bigger pot. First up, I'm going to try and get this plant out of its pot. So I'm going to lie it on its side like this, and I'm going to try and pull the plant out of its pot by just firmly holding the biggest growths and trying to give them a pull, and it's having none of that. So what I'm going to do is take a knife and go around the compost at the edge of the pot to just kind of loosen it a little bit. And hopefully, that seems quite loose. Again. I do feel that there is something moving slightly. Get further around, maybe to this position, to pull it a little bit better. Ooh. It doesn't want to come. And we can see here that it has come away from the pot on this side and the other side, but I think what's holding it in place is the roots sticking out of the base. Okay, I think this plant is coming. It's just hard to have the strength to lift it out even. There. That wasn't too bad at all. Okay, so nice root system. And what I'll do is just loosen some of these roots ever so slightly for repotting. And here's the pot that we just took the plant out of. And here is the new 70-litre pot. So quite a bit bigger, and hopefully it'll do the plant for a bit. And the next thing on our agenda is to make up the mix. So a selection of composts and a trusty wheelbarrow where we can do the mixing. Now this is a greedy plant that will need lots of nutrients and a relatively well-drained soil. I'm using a mix of regular potting compost and peat-free. I'm also adding some bark, organic yet good for drainage. And some horticultural sand, maybe 2 shovels full. Now this is a plant that likes good compost. I'm using peat-free because we all have to do our bit to save the planet. But despite having good intentions, I found that I do need to use regular compost sometimes, especially with potted plants and seedlings. I'm also going to add in some fish blood and bone just to help give the plant a little nutrition. That's a lot, isn't it? And I'll mix all that in. I can't really give you precise measurements, but I guess the well-drained part of the mix, the inorganic and the bark, maybe that will constitute about 1/4 of the overall volume. And now we're going to put some of the mix into this very, very large 70-litre trug. I suppose it's a trug, pot, whatever. Just flatten down the mix there, and if I've judged the volume right, then this plant will only have to be placed in on top just the once, which is just as well because it's a very heavy brute. 1, 2, 3. Oh, blimey. It's so heavy. Dear Lord. Ow. Whoa. I hope I only have to do that the once. So just kind of making sure that the plant is flat in the pot and that the biggest portion has the most space in front of it, which is harder than it sounds. And it's important to press down as well to make sure there are no air pockets. Doesn't it look so much happier now in its new pot? And that really brings me to the end of this video, the repotting section of the video anyway, but I thought I'd end by just giving you some notes on how I grow this beautiful Alocasia. So I guess the first thing to say is that it likes full sun. I keep it in the greenhouse and it has no shade on it. Now if you live in a country where it's a lot sunnier than Ireland, then perhaps you want to give it some kind of shade. It's a very thirsty plant, and I sit the pot in a saucer of water. So the water drains through and fills up the saucer underneath, and the plant just sits in that. Now, I've read various accounts that say wait until the first third of the mix is dry, like the top third of the mix is dry, before rewatering, but I've not done that, and the plant has responded really well. The other thing to bear in mind besides repotting is winter temperatures, and if you look at information, for example the RHS information about this particular Alocasia, it'll tell you that it requires a 10 to 15 degree minimum in winter, which means you're going to bring it into your living room. And actually, if you have space in your living room, you could do a lot worse than have this absolute magnificent beauty in there to keep you company through the dark winter months. However, I don't have that kind of space, and I overwinter my Alocasia in the greenhouse. Now, my greenhouse has a 5 degree minimum in winter, and what happens is the plant kind of goes into a dormant state. I keep it very dry, mostly not watering at all. And this is important if you're going to keep something at cooler temperatures. The cooler the temperatures you're trying to overwinter something at, the drier it has to be. So I keep this plant dry in winter, and then in spring, when it shows some sign of new growth, or when the sunshine really gets going, I give it a little water, and it springs back into life again and starts growing at a rate of knots. So it is a plant that can be overwintered dry at a minimum of 5 degrees with careful attention. Okay, I suppose that's all there is to say. Oh yeah, of course, feed. This one likes lots of food. I give it tomato food and it seems to yum that down. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and if you like videos about repotting giants, then I will link to a couple of them here at the end, and perhaps you'll check those out and see how I fared with big heavy plants like this one. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.